the cry that shattered the Baobab palace. On a sweltering night in the kingdom of Ndolo, a single, desperate wail pierced the thick, earthen walls of the royal palace. It was not the sound of a war drum or a griot song, but the thin, trembling voice of a young girl, Lindigo, whose family had just been evicted from their mud brick home by order of the queen herself. As guards in brightly woven kente cloth dragged her mother away, Lindigo's eyes locked onto the towering doors of the throne room, where Queen Nala sat draped in a regal wrapper of deep indigo and gold, her expression as cold as the night air. "Why?" Lindigo whispered, her breath forming tiny clouds in the humid air. The queen's gaze did not soften, instead, it hardened, and a single tear rolled down Lindigo's cheek, an echo of a kingdom's broken promise. If you want to know how a ruler known for her iron fist could ever learn compassion, and how a child's plea could set in motion a journey of redemption that reshaped an entire realm, keep reading. This is a story of how cruelty can be unmade, and how forgiveness can rebuild what was once shattered. The rise of an unkind queen, a crown born of ambition. Nala was not born to rule, she was the third daughter of a minor chief, Chief Jabari of the Riverland. From a young age, she watched her older brothers inherit cattle, land, and titles while she was taught how to weave, grind grain, and recite proverbs. Determined to carve her own destiny, Nala spent countless nights listening to traveling griots, learning about great queens like Nzinga and Amina, who wielded power with both wisdom and strength. When a sudden drought claimed the king and his two sons, the council of elders faced a vacuum. Seeing an opportunity, Nala presented herself as a decisive leader, promising stability, reign, and prosperity. Her eloquence, sharp mind, and fierce resolve swayed the council, and at 24, she was crowned Queen Nala of Ndolo, her head adorned with a beaded crown of cowrie shells and bronze. The weight of power at first, Nala's reign brought order. She tightened tax collection on grain and cattle, reinforced border outposts against raiders, and reduced banditry along the trade routes. Yet, with each decree, her methods grew harsher. She believed that fear was the most efficient tool for governance. A ruler must be feared, not loved, she often told her advisors, echoing a proverb from ancient times. The tree that does not shake will not bear fruit.
Soon, minor infractions, missed tax payments, gossip about the crown, or even a child's accidental damage to a royal banner, were met with public floggings, heavy fines, or forced labor in the kingdom's copper mines. Villagers whispered that the queen's heart had turned to stone, and the once joyful markets of Ndolo grew silent, replaced by the clatter of armored sandals and the low hum of anxious murmurs. The incident with Lindigo's family lived on the edge of Mchanga, a small farming community that supplied millet and sorghum to the capital. When a drought struck, yields fell, and the family could not meet the newly imposed grain quota. Queen Nala, unwilling to make exceptions, ordered their eviction and seizure of their land for state use. The night of the eviction, soldiers arrived with torches, and Lindigo's mother, Mara, begged for mercy. "We have always served the crown. Please at least let us keep our home," she pleaded. The soldiers, following orders, dragged Mara and her husband away, leaving Lindigo alone in the cold, her world upended by a queen she had never seen. Lindigo's cry, echoing through the palace, was the first crack in Nala's armor of indifference. Yet, at that moment, the queen turned away, her mind already on the next decree. The seeds of doubt. A mirror in the Hall of Ancestors days after the eviction. Queen Nala walked through the Hall of Ancestors, a long corridor lined with carved wooden masks and reflective bronze shields that, according to legend, showed one's true self. As she passed, her reflection seemed to flicker, showing a younger version of herself. Eyes bright with ambition, but also with a hint of compassion she had once possessed. A sudden, sharp pain shot through her chest, and she paused, breathless. "What have I become?" she whispered to the empty hall. The mirrors offered no answer, only her own stern face staring back. The council of old Maramara, though imprisoned, was not silenced. She managed to send a hidden note to her brother, Eldrick, a former scribe who now worked in the palace archives. Eldrick, risking his position, slipped the note into Nala's chambers. It read, Your Majesty, you have built walls of fear, but walls can be broken. A ruler's true strength lies in listening to the cries of her people. Remember, even the hardest stone can be worn down by water. The words haunted Nala. She recalled a childhood story her mother told of a river that carved a canyon over centuries. Not through force, but through persistence. For the first time, she wondered if there might be another way to rule. A night of unrest that night, Nala could not sleep. She paced the throne room, the weight of her crown feeling heavier than ever. She called for her most trusted advisor, Chief Tembo, a man known for his pragmatic mind. Chief Tembo, tell me, what do you see when you look at our kingdom? She asked. He hesitated, then answered, a kingdom that fears its queen, but also one that yearns for hope. Fear keeps order, but hope builds loyalty. Hope? Nala repeated, tasting the word. How do we plant hope without appearing weak? Tembo smiled faintly, perhaps by showing that even a queen can change. The first steps toward redemption. A visit to Mchanga determined to understand the impact of her decisions. Nala disguised herself as a traveling trader and journeyed to Mchanga. She arrived at dawn, her wrapper simple, her hair hidden under a headscarf. The village was quiet, its fields barren, and the once cheerful market now a collection of empty stalls. She approached a small homestead where an elderly woman, Gogonia, tended to a garden of hardy vegetables. Nala introduced herself as Mara, a trader from a neighboring town. Gogonia, with eyes sharp despite her age, said, you look like someone who's never known hunger, yet you're here. What brings you to our sorrowful place? Nala, feeling a pang of guilt, replied, I seek to learn about the lives of those who feed the kingdom. Gogonia sighed, we feed the kingdom, but the kingdom starves us. The queen's taxes are too high, and when we can't pay, we lose everything. My granddaughter, Lindio, now lives with me after her family was taken. She cries at night, wondering why the queen is so cruel. Hearing Lindio's name, Nala's heart tightened. She asked, what would you do if you could speak to the queen? Gogonia looked at her, eyes softening. I would tell her that a ruler's greatness is measured not by how many fear her, but by how many she lifts up. A small act of kindness. Moved by Gogonia's words, Nala decided to act. She revealed her true identity to Gogonia, who, though shocked, listened as the queen explained her desire to make amends. May I help you with your garden? Nala asked, rolling up her sleeves. Together, they planted seedlings of beans and carrots, and Nala, for the first time in years, felt soil between her fingers, a connection to the earth she had long ignored. As they worked, children from nearby huts gathered, curious about the stranger in royal robes. Nala taught them simple songs about rain and growth, and for a moment, laughter returned to Mchanga. The children, unaware of her true status, called her Queen of the Garden, and she smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't known in years. Returning to the palace with a new vision back at the palace, Nala called a council meeting. She announced a temporary suspension of the grain quota for drought-affected regions and ordered the distribution of emergency food stores to Mchanga and other struggling villages. Chief Tembo, surprised by the shift, asked, Your Majesty, what prompted this change? Nala, looking at her reflection in the polished bronze shield that hung on the wall, saw a faint glimmer of compassion beside her sternness. I have walked among my people and felt their pain. A queen who does not listen cannot truly lead. The council, though skeptical, complied, and for the first time in months, hope flickered in the eyes of Ndolo's citizens. Trials of forgiveness. Facing Lindai one evening, as Nala walked through the palace gardens, now filled with mango trees, hibiscus, and fragrant frangipani, she heard a soft voice singing a lullaby she recognized from Changa. Turning, she saw Lindio, now a thin, wary girl with eyes that still held a flicker of defiant hope, perched on a stone bench beside a blooming baobab flower. The queen's heart tightened. The child's small frame was a living reminder of the cruelty she had once ordered. Your Majesty, Lindio whispered, not rising. They say you've sent food to our village. Is it true? Nala knelt, lowering herself to the girl's level, and for the first time in years, let her voice soften. Yes, Lindayo, I have ordered grain and beans to be delivered to Mchanga. I want to make things right. Lindayo's eyes searched the queen's face, looking for any sign of deceit. My mother, she's still in the mines. Will you bring her back? The queen's throat tightened. I will do everything in my power to free her, and to ensure no family suffers as yours has. A tentative smile broke across Lindayo's lips, and she reached out, placing a small, dirt-smudged hand on Nala's cheek. In that simple touch, a bridge between ruler and subject was formed, fragile but real. The council's resistance, not everyone welcomed the queen's newfound compassion. Lord Bako, head of the treasury, argued that reducing taxes and redistributing grain would empty the royal coffers. Your Majesty, you risk the kingdom's stability for sentiment, he warned, his voice echoing in the council chamber. Nala, remembering Gogonia's words, responded, stability built on fear is a house of cards. A kingdom thrives when its people are fed, educated, and hopeful. We will find other sources of revenue, trade, crafts, and fair taxes on luxuries, not on the poor's sustenance. Chief Tembo, ever the pragmatist, suggested a compromise. A temporary tax on imported silk and spices, whose merchants could afford it, while granting tax holidays to farmers for 2 growing seasons. The council, after heated debate, finally agreed, marking the first policy shaped by empathy rather than intimidation. Restoring Mara and rebuilding trust weeks later, a convoy of wagons rolled into Mchanga, laden with sacks of millet, sorghum, and dried fish. At its head rode Sir Kofi, a knight known for his integrity, bearing a royal decree. Mara and all unjustly imprisoned laborers were to be released and returned home. When Mara stepped out of the mine's dark tunnel, sunlight blinded her for a moment. She looked up to see Nala waiting, not as a distant monarch, but as a woman with dirt on her boots and a hopeful expression. Your Majesty, Mara said, voice trembling. I never thought I'd see you again. Nala bowed her head. I have wronged you and your family. I am here to ask for your forgiveness and to help rebuild what was lost. Mara, whose heart had been hardened by years of suffering, felt a crack in her own wall of resentment. She reached out, and the 2 women clasped hands, a silent pact of mutual redemption. Together, they organized a communal rebuilding effort. Homes were repaired with mud brick and thatch, fields resown with drought-resistant seeds, and a new well was dug, its water clear and abundant. Children, including Lindayo, played near the well, their laughter echoing across the valley, a sound that had long been absent. The Queen's transformation, a new decree, the Charter of Compassion inspired by her experiences. Nala drafted a Charter of Compassion, a set of laws that guaranteed food security for all villages during droughts and floods, established a grievance council where any citizen could voice complaints directly to a panel of elected representatives, created a fund for education and apprenticeships, ensuring children like Lindayo could learn trades beyond farming, mandated humane treatment of laborers with regular inspections of mines and workshops. She presented the charter in the Great Hall, inviting not only nobles but also farmers, merchants, and artisans. As she read each clause, murmurs of disbelief turned into applause. For the first time, the palace walls resonated with genuine hope rather than forced obedience. Personal redemption, atonement, and growth. Nala's journey was not without setbacks. Old habits resurfaced, moments of impatience, sharp words, and the temptation to revert to fear when faced with dissent. Each time, she recalled Lindayo's small hand on her cheek, Mara's steady gaze, and Gogonia's simple wisdom. She began a daily practice of walking through different parts of the kingdom, listening to people's stories, and noting their needs in a leather-bound journal. She also sought counsel from unexpected places: a traveling griot, a shepherd from the highlands, and even a former rebel leader who had once plotted against her. By embracing diverse perspectives, she learned that leadership was not about unyielding control, but about adaptable, compassionate stewardship. The kingdom's renewal within a year, Ndolo transformed. Fields once barren now swayed with golden millet and sorghum. Markets bustled with traders from neighboring kingdoms, drawn by fair prices and safe roads. Children attended newly built schools, learning reading, mathematics, and storytelling. The mines, now regulated, produced copper and gold without sacrificing human dignity. The once feared queen became known as Queen Nala the Merciful. Songs were composed in her honor, not of conquest, but of kindness. From stone she rose, to water she turned. Her heart now flows, where once it burned. Epilogue, a legacy of forgiveness years later. On a bright spring day, Nala stood on the balcony of the palace, overlooking a kingdom that pulsed with life. Beside her, Lindio, now a young woman, educated and confident, held a scroll containing the latest amendment to the charter, ensuring that no child would ever be separated from their family by decree again. Mara, now an elder of Mchanga, visited the palace often, advising the queen on agricultural policies. Gogonia, whose garden had become a model for sustainable farming, taught new generations the art of coaxing life from stubborn soil. In a quiet moment, Nala reflected on her journey. She realized that redemption was not a single act but a series of choices, each one building upon the last. Forgiveness, she learned, was a gift she could offer others and, most importantly, herself. She turned to her people, gathered in the courtyard, and said, "Let us remember that a crown is not a symbol of power over others, but a responsibility to serve. May we always choose compassion over cruelty, and may our kingdom be a place where every voice, no matter how small, is heard."
We are gathered to affirm this charter of compassion. Let it guide us toward a future of unity and peace.
The queen felt, for the first time, truly at peace. If the story of a once unkind queen's redemption moves you, share it with others. Let it remind us that no one is beyond change, and that forgiveness can rebuild even the most shattered of worlds. The Unkind Queen of Ndolo, a story of redemption and forgiveness. If you found this tale inspiring, please like, share, and comment with your thoughts on how compassion can transform societies. Subscribe to our channel for more authentic, educational stories, and follow us on Instagram at Input Media for daily reflections on leadership and humanity. Together, let's build a world where redemption and forgiveness are at the heart of every community.